My best friend does this to climb the ladder. I'm pregnant with my dad's child. She will stop at nothing to achieve her goals. Yet, I was the one who personally brought him to the defendant's bench. My name is Lin Nan. It's the best friend from 𝓼𝓮𝓷𝓽's story. I really didn't expect it to be so long after all. I'll hear her voice in this way again. Seeing how she handled what happened between us, told as a piece of the past, calmly and quietly, I was stunned for a long time. I really want to ask her, have you ever regretted something you've done, even for a moment? I was 5 years old when I met 𝓼𝓮𝓷𝓭. I'm 2 months younger than her. So when I was a child, I always called her sister. She lives next door to my house. He's a recipient of the village's subsistence allowance. His father is a bit lame. He has some chronic illness. The family relies on a few acres of land to make a living. When 𝓼𝓮𝓷 was a child, his mother has to take care of his younger brother. So I really don't care about him. He's also always dirty. My mom felt sorry for him. I often wash his hair for him. When I tie my hair up, I'll give him the clothes I don't wear often to wear. When he was eating at my house, my mom always serves him more meat. He's too thin, they say. Sometimes he would watch as my dad held me on his knees and told stories to me. He'll put down his chopsticks. There was a longing in her eyes that I couldn't understand at the time. In high school, my dad's business grew significantly. We moved to the provincial capital. During winter and summer vacations, I'll go back to see him. He's still thin, like a malnourished child. I'll bring him a lot of delicious food. I said, you're even 2 months older than me. It seems I do resemble your sister. Then we all laughed together. Later, he actually got into college. On the first day of school, I saw him as soon as I entered the station. He's still thin, carrying a huge suitcase. My dad took the bag from his hands. Speak gently. 𝓲𝓮𝓷𝓭 is getting more and more beautiful. His face turned red instantly as he got into the car.
He sat awkwardly in the back seat.
Fingers intertwined, I chattered non-stop about college life. He listened quietly, occasionally glanced up at me. Bright eyes. My dad took us to a Korean restaurant. 𝓼𝓮𝓷 is still shy as ever. My dad kept signaling for me to pass him the food. Before leaving, my dad took something out of his wallet. A few $100 bills were shoved into his hand. Just buy whatever daily necessities you need for the start of school. Don't pull your hand back like 𝓼𝓮𝓷 did, as if she'd been scalded. Uncle, I don't want it. Speaking in my dad's tone, there's no room for refusal. It's like an uncle's red envelope to congratulate you on getting into university. She bit her lip. My eyes are red again. Finally, he took the money and said in a low voice, "Thank you, Uncle." Later, I found out that he never had breakfast. I asked him if his living expenses were sufficient. He always nodded and said enough. So I started feeding him in various ways. The sweet and sour spare ribs at this restaurant are absolutely delicious. But I can't finish it all by myself. Could you share the burden with me, please? My dad ordered fruit for me. There's too much for me to eat alone. Here, share some with you. At first, he would refuse. Later, they couldn't argue with me. Gradually came to accept it. During the National Day holiday on November 1st, I took 𝓼𝓮𝓷 with me to the nursing home to see my mom. My mother weakly held her hand and said, 𝓲𝓮𝓷𝓭 is already a grown woman. She's really beautiful now. Later, during National Day, I didn't let her go back to school. Live with me at home. My dad's on a business trip. We were the only 2 people in that huge house. I pulled him into the guest room. Tell him, little Chin, just think of it as your own home. The room now has clean sheets and pillowcases. Sunlight streamed in through the floor-to-ceiling windows. Warm and cozy, he stood at the door. Some people are at a loss for words. Nanan, I'll just go back to the dormitory instead. That's too much of a hassle for you. I put her backpack on the chair. What's the trouble anyway? Just stay with me. During the day, we go out shopping. There are a lot of people on the pedestrian street. I pulled her along as we rushed into one clothing store after another. How about this one? I picked up one in off-white. The dress was draped over her body for display. She glanced at the tag, rapidly shook his head. It's too expensive. I don't want it. I pushed her into the fitting room. Let's give it a try. When the curtain is pulled open, I was stunned for a moment. It's really beautiful. I mean it sincerely. Turning to the clerk, he said, wrap this up. 𝓼𝓮𝓷𝓽 grabbed my nan. It really shouldn't be too expensive. I blinked my eyes. National Day gifts. No refusing allowed. In the evening, we curled up on the sofa to watch movies. The coffee table is covered with snacks. He leaned on my shoulder. The hair has a faint scent of soapberry. He suddenly said, Nana, I really envy you so much. I held his hand. There's a thin layer of calluses on the palm of his hand. It must be from doing farm work when I was a child. I said that things will get better and better in the future. Wait until you graduate. Find a good job. Buy whatever you want. The third day of National Day. My dad came back early. When he entered the door, dragging his suitcase behind him, we're wearing the same outfit. Pajamas while baking bread in the kitchen. Flour is everywhere. Dad, I still have flour on my face. I'm rushing over now. Dad caught me with a smile. Then I saw 𝓼𝓮 sticking her head out of the kitchen. My dad smiled and took out 2 small boxes from his briefcase. Give one to me and one to 𝓼𝓮. It's Pandora's bracelet. After we put them on, also shared it on Moments Together. The caption says, to be best friends for life. Thinking about it now, it's truly ironic. That night, my dad cooked several of his specialty dishes. Some amusing stories about business trips were shared over dinner. 𝓼𝓮 listened quietly. Occasionally asked 1 or 2 questions. The way he looked at my dad. I keep feeling like something's not right, but I can't put it into words. After all, I never thought about what might happen to them. Later, during those 4 years in college, 𝓼𝓮 spends half her time at school, spend half the time living with me at home. I even reserved a room for her specifically at home. Buy her the 4-piece set she likes. After my mom came back from the nursing home, she often asks me to bring her some delicious food. Many times. Dad always brings an extra copy of whatever gift he buys for me for her as well. But I've never been jealous because of that. After graduating from college, we're still in touch. It's just not as good as during student days. If they stick together like that every day, during that time, I'm in love. The sweetness of first love occupies most of my thoughts. After work, I'm busy with dates. Contact with 𝓼𝓮 naturally became less frequent. Meeting a few times a week. Going out for dinner only once every 1 or 2 weeks. When we meet again, I've noticed some changes in 𝓼𝓮. She started using what I had recommended before, but she said the skincare products were too expensive. The bag carried on the back is also a canvas bag. Changed to the basic version of a luxury brand. Once she wore a dress with excellent tailoring. I recognized it as a pricey brand from the mall. I teased her. Great! Accountant Lee has been promoted. Still ended up with a rich second-generation heir. She smiled without denying it. My eyes lit up as I leaned in closer to her. I have a boyfriend now. What kind of fast? Tell me quickly. His eyes flickered for a moment. Picked up the cup and took a sip of water. It's okay, I guess. I'm feeling inspired now. Then it must be brought out to be shown around. I'll help you check it. How about this weekend? 𝓼𝓮 lowered her eyes. He's quite busy. Often on business trips. The time is not fixed. I mentioned it a few more times later. He always finds various excuses to avoid doing things. He's on a business trip. There's something going on at his home. He's been very busy with his projects lately. At first, I thought he was just too shy to say anything. Still laughing at him for keeping a beauty hidden in his golden palace. But when it happens too often, it's hard not to feel a bit puzzled, to be honest. with our friendship of over 20 years. She can't possibly not let me meet her boyfriend. Actually, I noticed it at that time too. Something's not right with my dad. He spends significantly less time in the office now. Often, no one is to be seen all afternoon. When asked, the secretary always says she's out discussing matters. Occasionally, I see them late at night too. There's no one in my dad's room. I even saw it in my dad's car. Receipts from maternity and baby stores. I naively thought it was the driver who bought it for his wife. When did I find out that 𝓲𝓮𝓷𝓽 was pregnant? It was the time when I suddenly decided to go to his place for hot pot. I'm carrying bags and packages everywhere. When he opened the door and saw me, a clear trace of panic crossed his face. She was wearing a loose hoodie, but it still couldn't hide the slightly bulging lower abdomen. Her face was rosy. The whole person looks much plumper than before. 𝓵𝓮𝓷𝓭, you. I stared at her belly. Forgot to put down the grocery bags I was holding. She bit her lip. I know I can't hide it anymore. Pulling me to sit down on the sofa. Nana, I'm pregnant. She lowered her head and spoke in a soft voice. It was an accident, but my heart skipped a beat. All kinds of thoughts are racing through my head. What about your boyfriend? What did he say? When are you two getting married? The moment the words are spoken, a bad guess came to mind. She couldn't have met some married man, could she? 𝓲𝓮 understood the implied meaning of my words. Hastily explained. We've come to an agreement. Wait until the baby is born. His project is almost finished as well. Just hold the wedding. That afternoon. In the end, we still ate hot pot together. I carefully inspected his apartment. The decoration is warm and elegant. It's obvious a lot of effort went into it. We also hired an auntie with a kind-looking face to take care of the house, taking special care of his diet and daily routine. Looking at all this before me, my remaining doubts gradually replaced by a sense of relief. I think 𝓲𝓮 has suffered so much. Finally, I can get away from that terrible. Someone loves and cares for her. Give her a stable life. Isn't this a good thing? I'm truly happy for her. Not long after that, my boyfriend and I went on a trip to Europe. Those 2 or 3 months I spent abroad. 𝓲𝓮 and I video chat every now and then. In the screen, her complexion looks better and better. The cheeks have become rounder. There are also more smiles now, radiating a gentle glow throughout the body. I often tease her in videos. Pregnant women are just different. Waiting for you to give birth. I want to be the first to hold him. I want to be my child's godmother. After the trip is over, I brought back 2 huge suitcases with me when I returned to my home country. It's filled with gifts for relatives and friends. The portion given to 𝓲𝓮 was especially generous. There are clothes and nutritional products for pregnant women. There are also little clothes for the child. To surprise 𝓲𝓮, I drove straight to her apartment. The moment he opened the door to the room, I didn't see the surprise on his face. Instead, they looked completely panicked. I happily held up the gift and said, "Look what I bought for my godson." His expression doesn't look right. I looked inside the house. At a glance, I saw my father wearing his pajamas, still stuck on the sofa. Let me check with my dad. Look at her again. I understood it all in an instant. Turns out, her so-called boyfriend is my dad. She's carrying my father's child. At that moment, I felt like my world had collapsed. One is my dearest father. One of them is my best friend from the past 20 years. I can't accept any of this. I dropped the gift on the ground. Tears kept flowing uncontrollably. I watched as 𝓲𝓮 asked him, "I've been so good to you. Why are you treating me like this?" Then I raised my hand and slapped him across the face. I turned around and ran downstairs. That night, my dad sat on the sofa with his head down and said to me, he also acted out of momentary foolishness, "I made a mistake that day after drinking alcohol." I cried and told my dad, "Do you deserve my mom? Dad, she's my best friend. You watched her grow up. How could you do such a thing? I was kept in the dark by you like a fool.
Do you know how much my heart hurts?
My dad kept his head down. It was a long while before she slowly spoke, Nanan. Dad will break off relations with her. 𝓲𝓮's phone kept ringing non-stop. One was sent to my dad's phone. The screen went on and off. Dark, then bright again. My dad takes a look at his phone. Look at me again. Never answered her calls. Later, 𝓲𝓮 sent me a message to apologize. She said she was sorry to me, saying that she loves my dad. Sighed, she never intended to destroy my family, saying that this child was an accident. She couldn't bring herself to have it aborted. When I read those things, a wave of intense nausea overcame me. Later, he called my mom. My mom was so angry that she had to be hospitalized. At that moment, hatred consumed me. I hate that he trampled on our relationship that lasted over 20 years. Hate that he's turned my home upside down. I consulted a lawyer. In my mother's name, get rid of him. The paper complaint was filed in court. I had a fight with my dad. I'm on a hunger strike and won't eat anything. Let him be with me and his. The rest of the sentence is incomplete, unclear. Choosing between children born to the same parents. Later, my dad couldn't argue with me. Let 𝓲𝓮 beat the child. That night, the aunt called and said, 𝓲𝓮 took sleeping pills. My dad is afraid that someone might get killed. I need to go see her. I'm standing by the window, one foot resting on the windowsill. Crying, I told my dad, today, if you dare to take even half a step outside this house, I'll just jump down from here. My dad was stunned. At that moment, I wasn't trying to scare him. If he goes there, I really will jump down. My dad was scared by the madness in my eyes. He ultimately didn't dare to go. Sent the driver there. When the news arrived, I'm frantically cleaning up at home right now. That guest room that once belonged to 𝓲𝓮. I tore off the sheets and pillowcases where he had slept. The towels, toothbrushes, and slippers he used, along with those I once carefully prepared for, the dull ornaments he chose. Stuff everything into huge black garbage bags. Then the phone rang. It was the driver who called my dad.
He said 𝓲𝓮 gave it to me before taking the medication.
Dad made one last call, but he didn't answer it. She swallowed the entire bottle of sleeping pills. Fortunately, the aunt noticed it in time. Taken to the hospital for emergency treatment, the child naturally wasn't saved. I saw my dad's face darken instantly. He turned around and went back to his study. Then he closed the door. Later on, time seemed to return to how it was before. My dad comes home on time. Go with me to the hospital to see my mom. We agreed not to mention it anymore. That name and that incident. All of 𝓲𝓮's contact information has been blocked and deleted, as if it never existed at all. That guest room has been renovated. Not a trace of what it used to be remains. Later, I heard something about it from a classmate. He went to a small southern town that was quite far away. No further news. Actually, I really want to ask him. Have you ever regretted it? I've had 5 miscarriages. Lost the uterus. Using her body to earn him a fortune of tens of millions. But it didn't earn them any official status. Back then, he said, you shouldn't have been there. Later, he said, you deserve to be there. My name is 𝓲𝓮, the woman who used to make the most money in nightclubs. Probably everyone who goes to nightclubs to make a living. All of them are covered in scars. I'm no exception either. I was born in a very remote village, relying on each other with my grandmother. The impressions of my parents are very vague. I only know that they passed away when I was very young. I managed to get through high school with many difficulties. But at that very time, Grandma was diagnosed with cancer. 200,000 for the surgery. To me as a young child, it's like an astronomical figure. To raise enough money for Grandma's surgery, I dropped out of school to work as a dishwasher. Received waste materials, But this meager income is still barely enough to make a difference. Later, by chance, I was introduced to nightclubs by a friend. Back then, I naively thought, this is redemption in a desperate situation. But I have no idea. This is merely the beginning of falling into another abyss. At first, I awkwardly held the glass in my hands, under the guest's red circle, drinking glass after glass of wine. As the guest's hand moved across their waist, I dug my nails into my palm. I've learned how to navigate among men of all kinds. Regarding those excessive touches and the ambiguous flirting gradually becomes meaningless, indifferent. But all this humiliation and suffering can be exchanged for grandma, medicines for treating illnesses, and old houses that have been repaired so they no longer leak. It's like an invisible shackle. Trap me firmly in this quagmire. I thought maybe that's just how my life would be. It's better to spend time in this state of drunken delirium. Until his appearance, like a stone thrown into still water. It disrupted all the peace and tranquility. Meeting Chunyu was on a completely ordinary night. The private room was filled with smoke. The singing is noisy. He sat alone in the corner, looking down at my phone. That sense of alienation somehow attracted me. I sat beside him, holding a glass of wine in my hand. Habitually placing my hand on his shoulder, I asked what was wrong. In his unhappy state, the way he looked at me, no such speculative or scrutinizing looks from other guests. He whispered, "Nothing related to work." I picked up my glass of wine. "Then I'll have a drink with you." But he gently pushed my glass away. Push a bottle of mineral water in front of me. Girls should drink less alcohol. Not good for the body. In that instant, it's as though something has hit me. Having struggled and worked hard in this place for so many years, accustomed to the sweet words and threats used to persuade people to drink, this is the first time. Someone told me to drink less. A long-missed warm current, surging into my frozen heart unexpectedly. And that's how we met. Later, he would often come to support me. Every time I just sit there quietly, order the most expensive wine. But he only wanted me to chat with him. Sometimes the air conditioning in the private room is too cold. He would drop the suit jacket over my bare shoulders. I fell in love with that faint tobacco scent on him. His kindness, thoughtfulness, and respect. Like a ray of sunlight shining into my gloomy world. The change in our relationship. It was that night. I walked out of the bar after work. I saw that familiar black sedan at a glance. I opened the car door and got in. Smelled a stronger cigarette smell than usual. I asked why I was in a bad mood. He didn't answer. Just silently started the car. I thought he'd be like the other guests. Take me to a hotel. I'm even mentally prepared already. Yet the car drove through the sleeping city, headed towards the empty seaside. We sat side by side on the cool beach, listening to the tide crashing against the shore again and again. I asked him if he was facing any difficulties. He looked up at me. The eyes are covered in bloodshot veins. A low voice said, "Recently, the company has encountered some problems in its development." I saw him for the first time. Her eyes were filled with confusion and helplessness. At that moment, I suddenly felt so sorry for him. I gently rested my head on his shoulder. "Tell him you still have me." Warmth. His deep voice, carried by the sea breeze, reached my ears. "You shouldn't have been there. Can you help me? I'm so tired." It's just this simple sentence. I took it to be the voice of redemption. I hesitated hardly at all. Quit my night shift job. I moved into the apartment he arranged for me. I took off that dazzling red battle robe. During the day, I helped him organize company documents. In the evening, I put on comfortable cotton t-shirts and aprons. Clumsy research recipes. Waiting for him to come back from work with great joy in my heart. During that time, he was also very kind to me. I hope you remember the snacks I mentioned casually. will quietly buy what's in my shopping cart. A necklace that's been in my collection for a long time. I'd also lie in bed and tell me what I should do in the future. Take me to a city with flowers and seas. Then have a cute baby. Every time I would smile and hold her even tighter. Back then, naively, I thought he was the one who pulled me out of the mud. Let me live again in the light. But forgot that maybe I should have pulled you out of the mud. Just to see what you're really worth after being cleaned up. Half a year later, the changes occurred quietly. He started taking me to some of his business meetings. At first, I was overjoyed. I thought this was what he wanted me to do. The true sign of being fully integrated into his life. He personally picked out elegant and appropriate dresses for me. I also strive to be a competent companion. Pour him wine and smile for him. Dealing with his business partners. Gazes of inquiry or admiration. Until that time, he arranged a meeting with the boss they've always wanted to work with. They all called him President Wang. It's clear how much he values this project. President Wang is slightly overweight. Sharp-eyed yet smug. During the meal, his gaze fell on me repeatedly, without any hesitation. Mr. Chen, you're so lucky. President Wang held the glass in his hand. There's a hidden meaning behind it. Chan Yi smiled and put his arm around my waist. Gently pushed me towards President Wang. Thank you, President Wang, for your appreciation. 𝓼𝓮𝓷𝓽 drinks with President Wang. My heart sank slightly. But still, he raised his glass. The wine that night seemed especially intoxicating. Before I lost consciousness, the last thing seen was Chan Yi's, Jiang's somewhat blurred face, his silent toast with President Wang. Wake up again. I found myself lying in a strange bed. The person sleeping beside me is none other than President Wang in that very moment. Humiliation and despair enveloped me. There's a piece on the nightstand, contracts that have been signed. The words cooperation agreement on the cover look like the red-hot iron burned my eyes. It turns out that all that tenderness and care were real after all. All respect and care. It's all just a carefully orchestrated performance. He had already figured out my value long ago. He pulled me out of that nightclub with clearly marked prices, just to enter a more premium market. Sell at a better price. I don't remember how I got back to the apartment later. I only remember seeing him sitting on the sofa when I opened the door. With tears in my eyes, I questioned him. Why are you treating me like this? What do you think I am? Can I give gifts to anyone I want? He stood up. Hold me in your arms. The voice was slightly choked up. I'm sorry, 𝓼𝓮𝓷𝓽. I failed to protect you. This won't happen again in the future. After this period of time passes, let's get married. Then he took something out of his pocket. A beautiful velvet box. Open the box. Inside is a huge diamond ring. Then he put the ring on my ring finger. I looked at the dazzling ring on my finger. She looked up again at Chan Yi's eyes filled with love, and eyes that guarantee it. In the end, the last line of defense in the heart collapsed completely. Tears welled up again. But this time, it wasn't just pure anger and despair. Rather, it's a mixture of resentment and newly reignited love. I asked him, choked up with sobs. Is what you're saying true? He hugged me tightly. My chin rested on the top of my head. Of course, I swear. I buried my face in his chest. I believe you as promised. It's like trying to convince oneself. It's like betting everything for the last time. This time I forgive you. The price was that I voluntarily covered my own eyes. The knife that could once again wound oneself, held in one's own hands, returned it to his hands, that cold diamond ring. Not a happy starting point. Rather, it's the beginning of a complete plunge into abyss. The days that followed, we both understood each other and never mentioned it again. Perhaps out of guilt. Perhaps they also saw my value. He's been better to me now. He rented me a bigger apartment. Buy me more expensive luxury goods. Naively, I thought this was a sign that he loved me. He still took me to various parties with him. The skills honed over all these years of practicing at nightclubs. It's useful at this moment. I know when to raise a toast. When should I act cute? What kind of gaze is most effective at getting men's attention? I poured him drink after drink, drank the wine handed to me by the customer. In the dizziness of a hangover and the headache of dawn, watching him sign one document after another. A lucrative contract. I thought I was helping him build his empire. That way, he'll ignore my past flaws. That would prove my love for him. Yet he didn't realize that he was merely nothing to him. A piece on the road to success. Sometimes I lie in bed and watch him sleep peacefully. I also secretly fantasize too. On the day of the wedding, I want to wear the most beautiful wedding dress. Become the happiest bride in the world. At this moment, misfortune also arrived quietly. When I was first pregnant, I happily held the ultrasound report and showed it to him. We have a baby now. He held me in his arms and said, "My career is currently on the rise. Not suitable for having children." Looking at the red bloodshot eyes, my heart softened. He accompanied me to the hospital for the surgery. After the surgery, he hired a nanny to take care of me. He bought me a lot of expensive tonics. Yet he avoided my empty gaze altogether. The next 2 years, it's as though I'm trapped in a cycle. Perhaps it's due to my physical constitution. Perhaps it's just the whims of fate. I got pregnant one after another. Chunyi's reasons also stemmed from his career's upward trajectory. It'll wait until we're stable before happening again. And later on, he didn't even bother to explain further. Just frowned and said it wasn't the right time. Every time I tell myself, this is the last time. Next time I'll definitely give birth to the child. But every time I faced his gentle yet firm attitude, all my perseverance has collapsed completely. I'm becoming more and more dependent on him. And I'm also becoming more and more afraid of losing him. I began to give for him. More ways to prove one's value. Prove that I deserve this title. I tried even harder to keep up with his drinking parties. To help him win over a major client. I drank so much that I had bleeding in my stomach. But he whispered excitedly in my ear, "Baby, you're truly my lucky star." The contract has been signed. Until the 5th pregnancy, it arrived silently. Yet it became the ultimate judgment. This time, I didn't tell him right away. I went to the best maternity hospital by myself. Got an appointment with a specialist. The old doctor looked at my test report. The frown grew deeper and tighter. Finally, he took off his glasses. She looked at me with sharp, compassionate eyes. "Your uterine wall is already as thin as a sheet of paper. If I have another miscarriage, it might be impossible to save the uterus." I went back to the apartment. Put the doctor's diagnosis in front of him. Try to stay calm. This is the 5th time for Chunyi. The doctor said I can't have another abortion. Let's get married. I want to give birth to this child. Perhaps I pushed him too far. Perhaps there's no good excuse to come up with this time. He suddenly became angry. He said in a cold tone, "Marry 𝓲𝓮𝓷𝓭. How can you still have such unrealistic ideas? Why can't it be done? We've been together for 5 years. I gave you everything I had." I screamed hoarsely, but he just sneered. That laughter was like ice laced with poison. "What have you given for me? Weren't you doing this kind of work before?" He came up to me. In her eyes was a disgust and contempt I had never seen before. "Back then, I thought you were beautiful. Take you out. I think you shouldn't waste yourself in a place like that. But look at yourself now. It's just a switch to a more upscale venue." He paused for a moment. Every word is like a sharp knife. He stabbed right into the most painful part of my heart, he said. "A woman who's been with countless men in nightclubs. Why do you think I'd marry you? You deserve to stay where you were." As soon as the words were spoken, it seemed like the air itself had frozen. I just stood there, staring at him blankly. Looking at this photo I've loved for 5 years. A face so familiar that I can draw its contours with my eyes closed. At this moment he became utterly unfamiliar to her. In those eyes that once held so much tenderness and care, all that remains is naked disgust and icy mockery. He looked at me with no reaction from me at all. Seems uninteresting. It might also be a sign of guilt. In the end, it was just a cold turn away. Pick up the coat on the sofa. Left the apartment without even looking back. I'm still standing in the same place, like a statue that has lost its soul. My gaze sweeps over us here. The house where they lived together for 5 years. There were still wrinkles on the sofa where he had just sat. On the coffee table was his usual crystal ashtray. All of this was once proof of happiness. Yet at this moment everything has become utterly ironic. I don't know how much time passed. My legs finally can't bear the weight of my body anymore. Fainted in that cold room. When I woke up again, I'm lying in the hospital. The doctor told me I had heavy bleeding after a miscarriage. The uterus was removed. This is the full price I had to pay for 5 years of our relationship. Later on, I left that city, taking my grandmother to that place, the small town I've longed for countless times. No one here knows my past. No one knows how glorious I once was. How utterly embarrassed. I often sit by the sea alone, looking at the mountains in the distance. I still think of that sunrise by the sea. I remember that sentence, "You shouldn't have been there." I also remember those words later on, "You deserve to be there."